I think I'm lost. Avatar. No, not that airbending movie made by M. Night Shyamalan. At this point, that movie is beaten to a pulp. No, what I'm talking about is the 2009 winter blockbuster with the blue cat people. I remember seeing ads for it everywhere. Even now, when I go to Sam's Club, there's always playing Avatar on those high definition 4K TVs. You can't escape it. Despite being released just a year after that awful recession, it made over $1 billion at the box office. Twice. It was a worldwide phenomenon, a marvel at its time. So why is it surprising that no one gives a shit about this movie? Avatar is in an interesting position. Despite its box office success, hardly anyone talks about it anymore. It's like it becomes this faded memory buried deep in our minds. I didn't even think about the movie until Fortnite released those Navi skins at the shop. I was like, oh yeah, that movie existed. So what happened to Avatar? Why was it forgotten? Well, let's dive in.
Let's dance.
James Cameron. I got to admit, I totally forgot that he didn't just make Avatar. I'm just your average room temperature IQ moviegoer who watches films without really paying attention to the producers or the actors or anyone behind the scenes. But Cameron has been around for a long time, producing and writing amazing films like Alien, Terminator, Titanic, Rambo, and even Piranha 2. He's been a huge figure in the industry. At one point, he even gave Spielberg a run for his money. Nowadays, he just kind of mostly do documentaries and a few movies that are viral for the wrong reason. Cameron's inspiration for Avatar came from his dream when he was 19, where he drew beautiful landscapes from his dream. Growing up in Canada, surrounded by nature, definitely had an impact on him, and that love for nature is what fueled the creation of Avatar. The film's development took years because the CGI just wasn't advanced enough, and the cost was astronomical. It makes sense. Back then, movies usually relied on practical effects and real-world settings to stay within budget. CGI was evolving, but wasn't the go-to method yet. Now we're used to CGI-heavy films, for better or for worse. But back then, something like Avatar was revolutionary. Credits to Cameron for creating such an ambitious film, pushing the boundaries of what CGI could do. Those CGI artists have worked overtime to give us the world of Avatar, and for that, I got mad respects. I imagine what Avatar would have looked like if the practical effects were used. It'd be horrifying. Welcome to Reach. I'm sorry, Pandora. We're introduced to Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington. Jake's handicapped and sent to Pandora in place of his twin brother, who died from getting mugged by a thief on Earth. His brother is part of the Avatar program, and instead of putting the millions of dollars in tax write-off, since his brother basically pretty much share the same DNA, he's like, you know what? Let's get this handicapped ex-Marine into our Avatar program. Yeah, you know what? Makes sense to me. And the Avatar program is where they fuse human DNA with Navi DNA, so the humans are able to pilot these Navis. The Navis are these tall, blue, cat-like humanoids who kind of resembles Native Americans, and let's be real, Cameron's message of the movie is pretty on the nose. Honestly, even after watching the movie like a dozen times, I still have no idea why they're on Pandora in the first place, or what's so special about the metal they're mining. So I was watching this movie hoping to get more clear explanation, and that did not happen. I got mad and I did a quick Google search, and I found out that the metal they're mining is called, wait, hold on. Unobtainium.
What moron came up with that?
Unobtainium is a superconductor that powers their hollow computers and improves interstellar travels. This metal is so important, yet the movie doesn't really dive into it, only tells us how much it's worth. Then we are introduced to a few more characters. Norm Spellman, the geeky scientist, he's chill, kind of a goober, but he's just kind of there. He just exists and just reacts to stuff.
Avatar driver.
Then we are introduced to Dr. Grace Augustine, and when we first met Grace, she comes off a bit abrasive, which I actually like. She had this bad bitch energy, and you can tell that she's just kind of done with everything. Even when she saw Jake, she's like,
How much lab training have you had?
I just acted frog once.
You see?
but when she's in her avatar form, she's a lot more upbeat and full of life.
Well, who'd you expect, numbnuts?
I thought it was a little confusing why her personality just shifted. I just thought that they assassinated her character too early, or she just really loved being in the avatar body. Upon my research, some people theorize that she's experiencing nicotine withdrawals because of her smoking addiction.
Who's got my goddamn cigarette?
I felt like an idiot for not noticing that. Then there's Trudy Chacon, played by Michelle Rodriguez, who's a badass pilot for the RDA. Side note, I don't immediately think of her from the Fast and the Furious, but I did think of her from the Resident Evil series. I thought I should put that note in it just because, like, whenever time I see her, I will always think of her from that movie. And of course, we got my favorite character, Colonel Miles Quadrich. He's one of my favorite antagonists. He's a loyal Marine who's just doing his job fighting for the corporation. He's not a bad guy per se, just fighting on the wrong side. The RDA, the Resource Development Administration, is at Pandora because Earth is dying, so the humans need these resources the planet provided, such as obtainium. I mean, we are talking about a greedy corporation, so this entire doing the right thing discussion is kind of pointless. I'm getting off track here. Jake eventually gets his new body, and when he discovers that he's able to walk again, he's totally amazed and kind of wreck up the place before he heads outside and dig his feet in the soil. I have no idea where to put this in the script, but the Na'vi had these weird tentacle hair things that let them link up with animals, unconsensually of course.
You're mine.
And this weird mating ritual, I do not want to think that the Na'vi is also violating these animals as well. Anyways, after a few briefing, our gang went out to collect samples, and Jake got himself into trouble with the local wildlife and has to fend for himself. Jake gets to meet our new character, Natiri,
Stupid. Ignorant like a child.
a fierce Na'vi who was kind of tracking him throughout the entire night, and she was gonna kill him until the Awa, a spiritual idea of Pandora, stopped her from doing so. I guess it's one of those chosen one shenanigans because Natiri reluctantly brings him to her tribe, and after some convincing, they induct him into their clan. Meanwhile, Jake's superiors back at the RDA wants him to spy on the Na'vi and gather intel to help them relocate them. The colonel even made a deal to get his legs back, an offer that Jake couldn't refuse. He reluctantly agreed and spied on the Na'vi. I got to be honest, as interesting as Act 2 is, it's a lot of jargon and monologue from Jake. Up to that point, I didn't realize how much he monologues throughout the movie. After several rewatches for this video, it gets pretty annoying real quick. And a lot of the time, he tried so hard to be philosophical, but it just doesn't land.
They can fix a spinal if you got that money. But not on vet benefits, not in this economy. When I was lying there in the VA hospital, with a big hole blown through the middle of my life, I started having these dreams of flying. Ex-Marine. Maybe out, but you never lose the attitude. Sooner or later, though, you always have to wake up. It's nothing like an old school safety brief to put your mind at ease. She says, all energy is only borrowed, and one day you have to give it back.
Like, can you shut the fuck up? I think many people find this movie forgettable because of this boring second act. If Cameron were to cut some of that fat a little bit, it would have been a more interesting watch. Taming that Banshee is like the highlight of Act 2. And that sex scene. Gosh, I really do not want to get into that. Jake did eventually learn the way of the Na'vi and became a certified tree hugger. But the day after their special night, the bulldozers pretty much tore down the forest that they were pretty much sleeping in, and Jake sabotaged the mining trucks, disrupting the mining operation. Oh no, Colonel Field, what Jake has become, an eco-terrorist, and a furry. Of course, the Colonel is pissed and pulled the plug.
You crossed the line.
He pretty much gave Jake one final chance to evacuate the Na'vi before they bombed their treehouse.
Well, well, well. I'd say diplomacy has failed.
After that failed attempt, the military blew out the tree and the Na'vi were forced to relocate. If anyone were to remember the movie, it's this scene right here. So much emotion is happening that I literally drop a tear every time I watch this scene. Jake failed, exiled from his tribe, and was put under house arrest. Trudy and the others are able to rescue Jake, but Grace got shot during their escape. Jake needs to get the tribe's trust again. He needs their trust because apparently they have some freaky Twilight Zone type of to transfer one mind to another. And what a better way to gain their trust is to hijack a dinosaur. They were unsuccessful to save Grace, but they did decide to rally the other tribes to fight the humans and take back their land. Then we get to our second most important scene in the movie. You guessed it, the obligatory final battle. This final battle is so epic, not gonna lie, especially the sense of scale and stake. And what's this? They are losing? Hard? It's over. Avatar's over. Jake lost. Wait a minute, we have a franchise, so of course they won. How? Well, the Call of the Wild, that's how. Like, these neutral animals now sided with the Na'vi and took out the military. Jake and Neytiri defeated the Colonel, Jake able to transfer his mind to his avatar body, and became the new tribe leader. Man, the amount of white savior complex comments I have read is totally hilarious. What do I think of the movie? I liked it. I might nitpick here, but I mean, when I say it's a good movie, it's not a masterpiece, nor is it horrible, just good. Like mediocre good. Like Little Caesar's good. It captivates the audience with its message, heartwarming moments, and in awe, but despite the CGI marvel of its time, people don't really appreciate the movie. People call it a reskin of a Disney movie Pocahontas. I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. I don't see Pocahontas riding a banshee or John Ratcliffe come blazing in a mech. But the world of Pandora is beautiful though. Like, a lot of imagination and creativity is put into the designs of these plants and creatures. Where plants shriveled up when they're touched, many animals are hexapedal, those freaky lizard things that float and glow. In fact, a lot of organisms have some form of bioluminescence, even the Navi. It's really cool to see that. If I had to nitpick here, I do not like the Banshee's nose's placement where the Navi's feet are at. You'll be taking a big whiff of those Navi feet. I know some of you freaks wanted to be those Banshees. Either way, the movie is alright. But let me put on my tinfoil hat and I'll tell you a secret. I believe this movie is an industry plant. Wait, don't leave. Look, the movie did a great financially, but it didn't leave a significant impact on pop culture. Avatar tried too hard to cement itself into the culture, but it just couldn't grasp onto that thread. I don't see anyone rocking out any Avatar merchandises or even talking about it, except for some memes like this.
You see those fuckers over there? You see them? Yeah. They have done absolutely nothing wrong, but they're blue. I've always hated the color blue.
And this. But even then, there aren't that many memes from this movie. Disney even made a theme park back in 2017 where it resembles Pandora with its fancy floating rocks and bioluminescent effects. Even its own video game, which apparently it's a commercial success with over 2.7 million copies sold, but I never seen anyone stream it, talk about it, or even show clips of it on TikTok, a platform notorious for showing clips of every shonen movie known to man, and I never saw one video. It feels like the universe is playing a practical joke on us, and I'm the only one that keeps falling for it. Hollywood tries so hard to make this a thing, but that wet paper towel is not sticking to the wall. Sure, it spawns a franchise and creates several eco-activist groups, but other than that, it only creates a tiny ripple in the massive ocean of already established IPs. Even then, people still watch Avatar 2. I like the second movie, but it has similar themes and story plots, except it has racism between the Na'vis, fancy water effects, and him. I have no idea how it became one of the top movies of all time, at least by box office numbers. But hey, it works. I don't know how, but it works. Anyways, James Cameron is releasing like 3 more movies. Maybe it's like Avatar The Last Airbender where he pulls out the elements. Earth, water, and now fire. Hopefully we don't have to wait 10 more years this time and complete this quintology of the Forgotten franchise. No, for real, Cameron's like 70. We literally cannot wait that long. He will croak at any moment before we even get to finish the quintology. Unless he dead ass sets a speedrun record of pumping out the movies every few years. Funny enough, as I was making that script, the 3rd movie trailer was released, and my sign rant is a complete waste of time. So thank you, James Cameron, for making a fool out of me. And I cannot wait to see your future installment. Fuck you, and I love you. Goodbye.